Battersea City Expats Club is a non-profit social organisation and our speakers are volunteers. The club as such assumes no responsibility or liability for the professional reputation of or the quality of services provided by the speaker today.
To the club for the second time, who I just happened to grab because he lives in the same complex I live in, and I said, blah, 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 and he's a speaker, he's an entertainer, and really, I think this is going to be a fascinating talk because it's going to take us into another world. Who here has flown on a plane? Come on, you fit it into a plane. There's planes big enough to take you. Who's been on a helicopter? Who's been on a ship on the ocean? Who's been in a submarine? Almost, it's a very small number of people who've been on submarines. So it's a different world, and God bless him, Sherman's going to take us into this very different world. And he only agreed to do this about, 10, 11 days ago. So God bless you, Sherman. So come on up, Sherman the Submariner.
It's under me. I'm used to being underwater. Oh, all right. I have my notes because it was actually like 5 days ago we talked about this. Hello, can you hear me? Hello. Okay. Good questions, Ren. Has anybody ever been underwater? Just underwater in general? Underwater in a snorkel, just diving? Yeah. Has anybody been underwater for more than 60 days? Yeah, we have one guy who's been underwater for more than 60 days. Were you on a submarine? Yes, of course. Then are you a submariner? Are you a submariner? Oh, all right. 6 months. You were a submariner for 6 months. For which country? England, diesel generator. All right. So someone here can tell you whether I'm BSing you or not. Okay. Okay. Oh, I got to use this thing here. Yes, Sherman the ex-Submariner. I've been on a submarine since 1985, believe it or not. Okay. Let's press it over here. Boom. Yes. Gives you an idea of where submariners stand in the world of superheroes. Superman, who wants to know who we are? Well, we're submariners because we have to be underwater for a long time. And it's a bit stressful. It is. I've been underwater, the longest I've been underwater was 72 days. And, I was underwater for 68 days, and we came in port and stayed 1 month. And then I went out for 72 days. And unlike these kids today, that's when I started drinking coffee. I never drank coffee in high school. I never drank coffee in my early 20s, but that's when I started drinking coffee. Okay? And I became a submariner, and yeah, I have about that type of strength now. Why did I join the Navy? I grew up on a military basis because my dad was a career Air Force guy. If you know anything about the United States Air Force, it's probably the cushiest military job you can have, okay? And my dad was very lucky because he was the only son, so he did not get sent to Vietnam. So it was a pretty cushy existence living on military bases, and we moved all around. We lived in Alaska, mostly in the continental U.S., and my dad settled in Texas. And Texas was a very different place for military kids because on a military base, this was in the 70s, everything was kind of like integrated. And then we moved off base to Texas in the 70s, and it was Texas, okay? And when I graduated high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know whether I wanted to go straight to college. I had no idea. But since I'd grown up on military bases, I kind of understood a little bit about the military. And I was thinking about going into the Air Force until I saw a Navy commercial. And that Navy commercial said, "It's not just a job, it's an adventure. And that got me. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm 18. I want some adventure. It's not just a job, it's an adventure. So I tell my dad, I tell my mom, hey, I'm thinking about joining the Navy. And my dad goes, are you crazy? You're fucking crazy? You're crazy. Join the Air Force. It's easy. Do 4 years, go to college, do whatever. I says, no, Dad, I'm not just looking for a job. I'm looking for an adventure. That's exactly what I told my dad. And that's what got me. It's not just a job, it's an adventure. I didn't know I was going to be on submarines at that point. Oh, yeah, well, that's coming up, how that happened. And so I joined the Navy, and I enlisted in 1981. I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, I haven't, yeah, okay. I joined in 1981, and I was off January 5th to boot camp. Let me see. And I don't know if this next one has anything to do with boot camp. Oh, look at that guy. Any resemblance? Do you see any? Young. That was taken after I graduated from Navy boot camp, which was not very hard, considering that it was in San Diego, considering that I used to look out every day at the Marine boot camp. Okay, and I thought, oh my God, this Navy boot camp is crap. The first night, some guy threw a trash can down the middle of the row, making all kinds of noise. Get up, you goddamn sailors. Yeah. Get up right now. Start yelling at us. I said, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And then about a week into boot camp, I happened to look over at the Marine boot camp through the gate, and I saw what they were going through, and I'm like, okay. We're drinking Cokes, and the ones who could smoke were smoking while the Marines were running like, I don't know, a 9 million mile run or something like this. And that's me at the 1981 graduating from Navy boot camp in San Diego. It was very wonderful. It was a tough experience, but it was a wonderful experience because I was on the drill team. We haven't even gotten to submarines yet, have we? I was on the drill team, and we got to go off camp to do special events. We went to Disneyland. We went to admirals' parties, part of the band. It was really good. The Disneyland trip was kind of a horrible experience. It was fun. We got to take pictures with a lot of Japanese people, and people were thanking us for our service. But I was late getting back on the bus. And one thing about in any boot camp, you do not want anyone of authority taking your ID card, because that meant you're going to be going somewhere later on that night. So we were 2 seconds late getting on the bus, and some guy took my ID card, and I'm like, no. And then I get a message later on that day that I have to go meet the SEALs at night. And in boot camp, when you do something wrong, they don't put you in jail. They just give you to the Navy SEALs, and the Navy SEALs work you out for a couple of hours. Well, I think I'm still in shape from that workout, actually. It was the worst thing that we were screaming and yelling and making a lot of noise. But I finally graduated boot camp, and it wasn't as bad. And most military stuff you see on TV, people screaming and yelling, that's only in boot camp, because after boot camp, it becomes more of a job. Let's see where we're at now. Well, I just want to show you the kind of boat I was on. I was on a sturgeon class. This is not the boat I was on, but this was the class of the ship I was on. Nice sized boat. I'm not going to explain everything about it, but submarine basically works on the bottom. You bring water into the boat, and it sinks. And we have some really high pressure air pipes that when we want to go to the surface, we push the water out, and it comes back up. Simple like that. But that was the sturgeon class, and this was the sort of class of boat that I was on. It looks pretty big, but wait till you see it in comparison to other boats. These boats were used for fast attacks in the 60s up through like 1999, but our boat was a spy boat, which we'll talk about later. This is my boat, the USS Pogey. When they assigned me to the Pogey, I was like, Pogey, what kind of, that's not a tough name, I want to, like, USS Badass or something. It's the pogey fish. I'm like, well, what is a pogey fish? I think it's some kind of mud-dwelling fish or something like this. But this was the boat that I was on. And most of my job, I got this pointer, I was in navigation, so I was always in this part of the boat. This is the control room. Almost like when you see Captain Kirk, there's that whole control room and you have comms, you have navigation, you have fire control. There. The nuke stuff was back here. Gordon. Right? And it was a nuclear sub, SSN, ship submersible. That's what it means. Navy. Oh, ship submersible, Navy. Can you guys hear me? Normally I'm loud without the microphone, but hello. Okay? Late in 1964, right? They don't show the decommission. Yeah, it does. The decommission date is 1999. I don't know exactly, sponsored by Mrs. George Wales. It's kind of nice. If you ladies have a little extra money, maybe you can sponsor a war machine, one of the most potential war machines ever devised by man. Or you can just live retired in patio. The Pogie was named after the Pogie from World War II. There was a World War II boat, SS-266. It was named after that ship, which was very successful in World War II, sinking a lot of Japanese ships. You have this over here, no ka oi. That's kind of was our motto, It means the best. And I think we were pretty good. We were pretty good at what we did, which you'll see later on. Okay. These are a lot of different other submarines. And I want to just compare. Okay, those are the beginning is this thing working? Oh, yeah, it is. From submarines from way back when, World War II, right? And I'm trying to find our submarine, Los Angeles class. Okay, ours is in between. Ours is smaller than this sub. I have it on the next slide. This is the Los Angeles class, which is still presently being used, and this is the Ohio class. This is the Trident missile submarine. We have about 14 of those, and one of those can bring down the whole world. Not that I'm proud of that. I'm not a warmonger, but when people are talking about military spending, I'm like, one of those can bring the entire world down, including Russia. Why do we need 20 more? So yes, so my submarine is about a little bit smaller than this one compared to that one. So when you ask, how was life on a submarine? It really depends which submarine you were on. If you were on the Ohio class submarine, you were dancing and laughing. You had 9-man staterooms, big lockers. You had a workout room. You had a library. You had big, giant hallways to walk through. The world was yours. Good food. Everybody smiling. No one's cramped in each other. But that was not my submarine. My submarine was old school. Nuclear, but old school. It was pretty cramped. Let me see. That way. Did it change? There we go. So it's a better picture. That was kind of my submarine, about the size of my submarine. And this is the Ohio class. See the difference? That's the Ohio class is huge. I actually toured the Ohio, not the Ohio, but the USS Michigan. They named these after states. I used to draw the courses, but I'll talk about that later. Well, I'll talk about it now. So when I was doing my submarine duty on something like this, imagine how I felt when I first walked on one of these submarines. I was like, my God. So, I think I got a raw deal here. But our boat had to be small, and you'll find out for reasons later on in this talk. But that's kind of life on a submarine depends on what type of submarine you're on. This has about 155 people. This has about 110, 120. And yeah, you can see the difference in the size. This is in a massive boat. And the difference between the deployments on this boat and that boat, our boat, we were ready to go at all times. All times. These boats have a schedule. They have a blue and gold crew. Has anybody seen the movie Crimson Tide? You guys, right? Crimson Tide. They have a blue and they have a gold crew. So this boat goes out 3 months, or yeah, almost 3 months, comes back in, and then the gold crew gets off, and then the blue crew gets on, refits it, and it goes back out. This is basically, instead of having a silo with nuclear weapons in it that are on the land that the Russians can target, this is a moving silo that they cannot find. And this is what Ronald Reagan and everybody else called a deterrent to nuclear war. Because if the Russians don't know where our nuclear arsenal is, then they're less likely to attack. If there's a submarine out there, if the Russians attack us, they don't know that something's coming from somewhere. They just don't know where it's going to come from. So that was basically considered a deterrent to nuclear war. You know, Americans, how do you stop gun violence? Yeah, you just put more guns in the game, right? How do you stop nuclear war? Well, you just have more nuclear weapons, but you just hide them in a better place. All right, I know we got some gun lovers here. Here we go. But that's kind of the philosophy behind this. This boat was all about getting intelligence. This size boat. Most of those boats were about getting intelligence. Because I was not in any war, but I was in the Cold War. And that was kind of a war. Out there in the middle of the ocean, following Russian submarines for days, collecting data. You know, if they find you, you know, never happened to us, but it happened to a few boats. They have a thing called a Crazy Ivan. We have any Russian people here today that are not taking a little leave from Ukraine or anything? No? Okay. If you're following a Russian submarine and they find out you're following them, because we could follow them from a long way away, and they find out, they'll just turn around and come right at you. It's called a Crazy Ivan. Never happened to us, but it happened to a few boats. They just turn around and come straight at you, almost in a game of chicken underwater. Russians, crazy sometimes. Anyway, I'm not saying they're all crazy, just the ones that live in Russia. Anyway, no, they come at you. Of course, you're not going to let them run into you. You're going to just like veer away. They come. They know you're following. Then they turn around and they come directly at you. Called a Crazy Ivan. And you're out there in the middle of the ocean. If you sink, maybe no one knows what happened. Especially if you're in very, very, very deep water where no one can go to the bottom. Anyway, do you know how a submarine gets destroyed? It doesn't explode underwater. What does it do? It implodes because the water pressure, it implodes. And by the time it hits the bottom of the ocean, it's like the size of a Pepsi can with a lot of dead people. Everybody's, it's true. You're like, because the water pressure makes it implode. Okay, let's move on. So, get a sense. Okay, Pogi, Nakaoe, the best. We did a lot of missions, which I'm very proud of, and I thought we were pretty good. From today till tomorrow, from yesterday till tomorrow, I guess, because the Pogi was a World War II ship that did a lot of attacking in the Pacific Ocean. Part of America's response to Pearl Harbor, the first people to go out really and start fighting were submarines, because the fleet was under. What movie? Yeah, Run Silent Run. Okay, yeah, I mean it's Hollywood, but yeah. Some people say that here on the streets of Patia, but I think it means something else. Anyway. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I just went through that a little bit. Went from boot camp, and I went to Florida. Excuse me, I kind of skipped a few things. I went to Florida because I was in navigation. And so I had to go to navigation school. Just excuse me. Yeah, I went to Orlando, Florida for navigation school, for skimmers, because I still hadn't decided that I was going to be on the submarine force. So I go to Orlando, Florida, you know, go to that Disneyland too, why not? You get them all in. So I'm doing navigation school. It's 8 hours a day for like 8 weeks, hardcore, every day. And I thought to myself, university, after I went to the university and graduated, I think that's how universities should be. I could have learned French a lot better if I'd have done it 8 hours a day for a month. But anyway, we did navigation 8 hours a day, like a job, and we learned it for 8 weeks. And about the 7th week of the instruction, navigation instruction, some guy just came in. He just looked in, says, "Hey guys, how you doing?" Right? And I'm like, the teacher's like, hey, come on in. And he comes in, he's had all these stripes on it. You know, he's been in the Navy for like since, I don't know, Jesus' time or something. But he looks in and he looks around and goes, you guys are almost graduated, huh? I was like, yeah, we can't wait to get out of here. You want to get to your ship, right? He goes, yeah. We're like, yeah. He says, how many of you guys ever considered maybe being on a submarine? And everybody just starts laughing. Like, oh, why would we want to go on a ship that sinks on purpose? Right? Why would we want to go on a ship that actually sinks on purpose? Like, why jump out of a perfectly good plane, right? Anyway, some reason it hit me, and I'm like, wow, underwater, huh? And then I started remembering that show called Voyage. Anybody seen the show Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea? Can I have a hand? Has anybody seen that show? Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Captain Crane and stuff. I look over at my friend Clark, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to join the submarine force. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go too. I said, yeah, let's go together. I said, are you sure? Yeah, okay, shake on it, because I didn't want to be the only guy. He says, yeah, and we were the only two in that class to go to submarine school. So we went to submarine boot camp, which is, we left Orlando with orders to go to Groton, Connecticut, which is commonly known to submariners as Rotten Groton. And basically, sub school is a boot camp for submariners. Now we did one boot camp in San Diego, but now we're in Connecticut, and we're doing a submariner boot camp. And you're learning how to do damage control. You know, like you see in the movies where submarines underwater, a pipe burst, and then these guys are all fixing it. Well, we're learning to do all that. We're learning how to, you know, we're in a submarine simulator, driving a submarine, dealing with the angles, dealing with everything. And we're doing the paperwork and everything. And it was fascinating to me, this whole idea of being underwater. But I had never been underwater yet. This is just all training. And I didn't like the damage control, because when the water came in, for some reason it's always ice cold. And you have we're in this room. They put us sailors, these submariners, to be in this room. And then the pipes start bursting. So you have to get together with your group. They taught you how to patch the pipes and do all this stuff. Things you've seen in World War II movies. Well, we're still doing it. And yet we're patching all these pipes, yet the water's still rising. And then we say, oh my God, there's one down there. And we have to work together, dive down, patch the pipe and do it. But normally we all fail, because I think the chief up there is kind of bit of a sadist, you know, and the water's like up there. He says, okay, you guys are done. He's almost drowning us. But that's part of submarine boot camp, which happens in Groton, Connecticut, which is America's submarine capital of the world, right? It's a sub base, but it's also where they train submariners to be. I found out what it meant to be broke while I was in Groton, Connecticut. We were sailors. One reason I also joined the military, you know, you also, what I liked about it, you also had money in your pocket all the time. And, but we were young and stupid, so we'd spend all of our money so fast. Oh, scheisse. Sorry. Sheldon, giving a speech. I'll talk to you later. We'll be giving a speech to you guys, too, on improv soon. So we all went broke. So we used to go out and eat every day, but then we were so broke, we had to settle in eating at the dining facility on base, which was kind of for losers who didn't budget their money. Anyway, once I graduated sub school, probably about a week before we graduated sub school, some guy comes in again. He goes, hey, anybody here want to do special ops? Anybody here think, you know, they have what it takes? And then they told us about spec ops, how tough it was. And I look at my friend Clark with it. I said, Clark, let's do this too, man. Let's just go all the way. He says, yeah, okay, I'll do special ops. And so we both raised our hands to go on spec ops, but a lot of other people did too. So the way you get into spec ops, you have to go through a top secret clearance. And so we're waiting around in Connecticut. We go ahead and fill out the paperwork. We're waiting around in Connecticut for our top secret clearance to hopefully clear. And you know what? Out of about 20 people, maybe 8 people's top secret clearance cleared. We had one guy, really good guy. His name was Tamago. He didn't get to be on a top secret submarine. This is in the 80s during the height of the Cold War because he had an uncle that was born in Cuba. And they said, nah, any little thing, you were done. And so he was done. I got cleared, and I got cleared, and I was happy. Clark got cleared, and he lived in Texas, and at the time my dad had settled in Texas, so we were both going to drive out to California. Another good perk was we were going to California, you know. I was like, we're going to be in California. I'm thinking Beach Boys, girls playing volleyball on the beach, sunshine, you know, your typical California stereotype, right? And so I fly back to Texas. Clark flies back to Texas. We meet. He has an old beat-up 1970-something car. We've got 8 tracks, and we have the Beach Boys 8-track. And from Texas all the way to San Francisco Bay Area, we're playing the Beach Boys. You know, just, we're going to California. Ah. Well, now I know that stereotypical California is Southern California. Okay, that Baywatch and all that good fun volleyball in the sand and sun and, you know, girls too magical to touch, that's all Southern California. Well, we get to the Bay Area, and I remember it was a little chilly when we drove in. I'm like, wow, it's kind of chilly out here. Clark's like, don't worry, tomorrow morning the sun's going to be up and blah, 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 blah. And then, no, it wasn't. And I quote Mark Twain on this, the coldest winter he ever spent was a summer in San Francisco. I don't know, how many people have been to San Francisco Bay Area? So you know, have you been in the summertime? Yeah, it's freezing at night. It looks good in the day, and then it's cold at night. Well, it's like, where's the California we dreamed about? Anyway. Oh, by the way, if you flunked out of sub school, the punishment, and they told you straight up, the punishment, you get sent to a carrier. That was the punishment. And everyone that flunked out, I asked them, I said, hey, they sending you to a carrier? Yeah, I'm going to USS Enterprise or whatever. You get sent to a carrier. Because if you want to be on submarines, you really don't want to be around 5,000 people. Carriers are like cities. They're like 5,000, 6,000 people. Submarine, 120, 155 max. You get to know everyone. And the story about carriers is you can walk on an in process with someone and never see them again because they'll go to an opposite duty station or whatever. So anyone who flunked out of sub school at that time used to go got orders straight to a carrier. And I did not want to go to a carrier because there was always talk about people falling overboard and, you know, planes crashing. I'm like, nah, I joined the Navy for the adventure, not to die. Anyway, okay. So we arrived. Our boat, our boat was 40 miles from San Francisco in a place called Mare Island in a city called Vallejo. Okay, so it was called Mare Island, but we hated it because we did a lot of work and it was really hard, so we called it Nightmare Island. Nightmare Island, Naval Shipyard, 1980, 1981, overhaul, wrecking crew, USS Pogey. I survived. Basically, what I didn't know is we were in the shipyard to put on stuff on the boat that would allow us to complete a special ops mission. Okay. First thing you do when you're on a sub, you get handed a qualification card. I was handed a navigation qualification card and a submariner qualification card. You have to qualify for everything in the military. And if I'm going to be standing the navigation watch, I have to be 100% qualified on the boat. And that means that anything that I need to know, someone needs to sign me off after they teach me and verify that I know it. If I mess up, the person who signed me off also gets in trouble. The captain also, if I really mess up big, the captain is also responsible because the captain of a submarine or any ship is ultimately responsible for everything that happens on that boat. Okay, let's move on. USS Pogey, 647. That's the sails. These are planes. There's some bigger planes down there too. When the boat's going, say you're going so much, if they put the planes up like that, the water hits the planes, the boat go up. If you're going You're cruising along, and you put the planes down. The water hits the planes. The boat goes down. Pretty simple mechanical engineering stuff. You have the watch up here. These are the you've seen those submarine movies. This is the sort of the watch. They're just sort of watching, you know, for ships, planes, or whatever that could be a problem. All these guys topsides, they're called, you know, they're making sure you can tie the ropes on the pier and everything, and they're all buckled on. They're not just standing up there without any type of cable holding them down in case they fall overboard. Because those, you know, you fall overboard, it could hurt when you go through the propeller. Probably hurts a little bit. You see the periscopes? Got a couple of periscopes. If you can see right here, that's a snorkel. I'll talk about coming to periscope depth. These submarines are built not to be on the surface. These are not World War II submarines. These new submarines are built to be underwater all the time. Coming on the surface is like only when you're going out of port and only when you're coming in. In fact, the time that I went out for 72 days, we dove one place, we stayed underwater, and then we came back to that same spot and surfaced after 72 days. But we do come to periscope depth, but it's still underwater. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh, so, yes. Another picture of the Pogey out to sea. Pretty nice boat. And submarines, they don't really call, they say ships, but most of the people, they call it boats. Did they call it boats when you were in the Navy? They call it boats. They call them boats. We hold our breath. we hold our breath for 72 days. That's why you saw the first thing with Superman, the Submariner. We hold our breath. We have CO2 scrubbers, right? Recycle the air through CO2. They scrub out the CO2. However, every night we come to periscope depth. And we put out the snorkel, and that brings in fresh air. And I love that. You know, you're just sitting there on watch, and then that fresh air is just coming in, and you're just breathing it in, going, oh, my God, it's so good. It's just wonderful. And I'll talk about coming to periscope depth a little bit later. I think Ren is saying, Sherman, hurry up with this. Yes, where are we at here? Yeah, subs are made to be underwater, not on the surface anymore. No submarine is made to be on the surface. I would never go on a diesel boat, ever. You know what? In Submariners, you can't wait to dive. Being on top of the ocean is like being like a tennis ball in the ocean. And you're just rocking and rolling, and you're like, shit, who could handle this? And especially in the Bay Area, under the Golden Gate Bridge when you're going out, the water's so rough, you're bouncing around, people are throwing up. You know, you're like, ugh. You know, once you see the first guy throw up, you're getting queasy, okay? And we're on the navigation thing, so we have one of the navigation people on the periscope taking bearings. That's how okay, there's this stanchion from the Golden Gate Bridge. Okay, there's Coy Tower. And then we bring 3 bearings, and that's where the ship is. You know, we need 3, I can't remember the names now, bearings from 3 different fixed posts, and that will give us the bearing where the ship is. And we have to do that every 3 minutes when we're in inland waters. Every 3 minutes we have to do. But now you got the ship bouncing around. You're over here trying to do this. This guy's throwing up, you know. Guy over there's throwing up in a bag. You're throwing, there's a little bilge, but we're throwing, everyone's throwing up. And the cooks are cooking like hamburgers, and you can kind of smell it throughout the boat. And that's, right? And I'm going to talk about our first dive, because I want to say, okay, we've refitted in Nightmare Island. We're going out to sea for the first time. I'm out to sea for the first time. I'm in the navigation part. I've never been underwater. And meanwhile, everyone's bouncing around, throwing up, and I'm thinking, God, this is not like Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Anyway, we're still newbies. But I got a qual card for navigation, and you also get a Submariner qual card, which you have to fill that out if you want to get the dolphins. And you have to get the dolphins, or you're going to a carrier, basically. Just another picture of a submarine. Ooh, yeah. Pogey in port. In port, import, we're not just totally off. You always have to have a skeleton crew on a submarine at all times. So we have a thing called standing duty. Every 4 days, you have to stand duty. You have to be part of the skeleton crew. You have to. You know, you have the watch, but those people on that, those people, that skeleton crew is enough. They are enough people to get the boat underway in case something happens, earthquake or you know, something really bad. That's enough to get the boat underway, out to sea, underwater. Every 4 days, we had to stand watch, which kind of sucks because remember I told you I went out for 68 days and then we came back for 1 month? Well, in that 1 month, I still had to be on the boat every 4 days and then go back out for 72 days. But well, that's the military. It was, actually. And this is how you pretty much dock submarines in a submarine base. You got one there, you got one behind it, probably got another one around the corner. All right. That works. Oh, shy. Is that the one I want? Let me see. Okay, that's it. We have some sailors who became artists, and so this is from a guy on the Pogie, Simbisky. He liked to draw, so he drew a picture, his rendition of what we look like underwater. We would never be that close to the rocks, never, because submarines don't do that. And by the way, how do you know how deep the water is on a submarine? We have soundings. We have a machine that a fathom, just press it, sends a ping down to the bottom of the ocean, come back up, tells you how deep you are. And so we refitted in Nightmare Island. We're on our way out. We get past the Golden Gate Bridge, but a submarine cannot dive, at least an American submarine, until you're to at least 100 fathoms of water. Have you guys been to San Francisco? There's a place called Seals Rock. Anybody ever heard of that? Seals Rock? Well, that's where we dive because that's where the 100 fathom curve is. We get out to Seals Rock and then we dive. We gut it out, and getting to Seals Rock is a rough ride most of the time. And we get out there, and then you hear this word, you know, everybody gets ready to dive. Everybody prepare the ship to dive. And all the old salts are like, yeah, we're getting underwater. And I'm like, this is the first time I'm going underwater. Oh, look at me, right? But I'm a little nervous, like, oh, my God, we're diving, you know. And then they go, dive, dive, just like in the movie, dive. And we're going underwater, and everyone's, you know, I'm kind of new up there, and all the oldie guys are looking at me, and I'm kind of trying to be tough. Yeah, I don't care, we're diving. Yeah, we're diving. But I was like, man, I hope this thing doesn't. I was a little nervous. And we dove, and then we were underwater, and it felt so calm and so relaxed. It's so calm and so relaxed. And I was like, I always want to be underwater, man. I always want to be underwater. Always want to be underwater now. Okay, and you're probably wondering, what is it like being underwater in a submarine? You're sitting in this room. It's just like this. You hear the hum of the engine. It's just like being in this room, except for when we're turning and when we're going up and down. And that's what we're about to watch here now, some angles and dangles. Okay? And yeah, I liked it. It's very calm. You're just cruising along. And if you turn, you know, you see the boat turn, you can feel it turn. You know, if it's going up, you can see the boat going up, and you can actually sort of stand at an angle, you know, and you can see water sort of. You know, it's kind of an interesting thing. You get different angles. But for the most part, being underwater, just cruising along, is like being in this room right here. Okay, these guys are demonstrating some angles and dangles. It's about a 29-degree angle here.
Oh, God.
Stay there.
If you can hold it.
Stay there. I'm videoing, so y'all can do whatever the fuck y'all want to do.
That's the boat going up at an angle.
Okay, man. We got 21, 23, 26, 28.
I'm videoing. I mean, you guys can pull.
29.
You can pull slides off any of it.
You see those blue suits? Yeah, that's angles. So you can stand at different angles. So it's like being in this room, except for when we're doing some angles and dangles, and then you can do stuff like that with your friends. See those suits right there? When you're underway, most people wear these suits. These are called poopy suits. I don't know why, but that's what they call them. Poopy suits. Basically, it's sort of like a mechanic suit where you zip up and you just wear that. And normally when you're underwater, you can wear whatever hat you want. If you like a football team, if you like the Dallas Cowboys, you can wear your Dallas Cowboy hat because we're underwater. And once a submarine dives, we don't have wake up or reveille. We have drills and things, but mainly your work shift is 6 on, 12 off. 6 on, 12 off. So you get to wear your hat, you kind of wear tennis shoes if you want. You don't have to be totally, you loosen up underwater to a certain extent as far as the dress code and things like that. And you sort of see that's angles and dangles. So when what's it like being on a submarine? Like I said, when we go up, you can stand at angles and dangles. Not really, I don't think so. You just 6 on, 12 off. I don't know. I don't, because you just show up when you need to show up. And you get used to it. You always want to be on the first watch, because the first watch is like 3 hours long, then you can go to sleep, and then you have 12 hours to get yourself together for the next watch. But anyway, yes, we do. Glad you asked. We're getting to the point what it's like to be on a submarine. We do take showers. On these boats, we're not on that Ohio luxury presidential class. We're on this small boat. We take Navy showers. Does anybody know what a Navy shower is? Yeah, yeah. You jump in. You turn it on for about 3 seconds. You turn it off, and then you put the lather on you. Then you jump in, and then lather out, and then get out. Right? And because we're making our own water too. And if you're staying in the shower really long, you're called a shower hog. And doing your 12 hours off, if someone catches you being a shower hog, doing your 12 hours where you could be sleeping, hanging out, they'll take you in the back of the boat, and they'll just make you watch the water making machine for 3 hours. That's your punishment. Because you're being a shower hog. You should not be taking that big of a shower. Okay, let's see what else. Let's move on. Yeah, but you take a shower. I used to try to take my shower. Didn't want to do that. All right, well, we'll watch this. I'll tell you about how I took my shower. This is an emergency blow. Yeah. I think Disneyland's trying to get that ride, but I don't know if they can. Emergency blow is when something goes wrong on the ship and you cannot rectify that underwater and you need to get to the surface fast. We have these things, they call them chicken switches. That's what we call them. The chicken switches are the emergency blow switches. Like, okay, we can't fix this underwater. We're scared. And then that sends a 4,500 PSI air blowing all the water that's in the ballast tanks. Because remember, a submarine, it's on the surface until you bring water into the ballast tanks. And then that's what makes it sink. So you have so much water in the ballast tank that keeps you at a certain depth. But when you need to get to the surface, you need to blow that water out of those ballast tanks. And if you need to get to the surface fast, you need to hit those chicken switches, and you hit that, and it just blows that water out at 4,500 PSI, and it comes up just like that. And you come flying out of the freaking water. You come out, and I remember once you can sort of feel airborne a little bit, and then you just come back down. It's kind of fun, especially if you do it from excess of 900 feet underwater. Just, it's kind of fun. That's the adventure part, I guess. Anyway, that's called an emergency blow. And that's only when something goes wrong, really terribly wrong. Hold up, guys. I'm sorry. Am I the only one that ran cornered somewhere on the street as I was just enjoying my coffee, living my life? And he said, hey, you want to do a speech? Am I the only one? Has it happened to anybody else here so far? Anybody? Yeah, okay. Okay, we're underway. You can wear whatever you want. So I'm underway, I'm underwater, I'm standing my watch for the first time. For some reason, our electric navigation gear doesn't work, so we kind of get lost a little bit. On my first watch, basically, we're lost, right? And we have this thing called a khaki drill. All the officers are in front of, I'm sitting here at my chart, all the officers are all around me. I'm like, oh my God. And they wear khakis. And so we call it a khaki drill. And you don't like khaki drills as an enlisted man because all the honchos are around you. The captain, the XO, your chief, everybody. Where are we at? What are we doing? I'm like, fuck, I'm trying to, as an electric, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out where we are on our first time out to sea after being in dry dock. And then the word spread throughout the ship. And my last name is Richardson. Well, for about a month, my name was Wrong Way Richardson. My first time out to sea, I was wrong. I had the nickname of Wrong Way Richardson for about a month or two. Life on the boat, 6 on, 12 off. If you only have 2 people who can stand watch, you do things called port and starboard. That means you stand watch for 8 hours, that person stands watch for 8 hours. Because you only have 2 people who can stand that watch. Another thing that on the boat, we have a thing called hot racking. Now, Ren's gonna like this one. Hot racking is when you don't have enough beds on the ship because you have extra people on boat to where you have to hot rack with someone. Like while they're on watch, you're sleeping in that bed. And then when you're on watch, they get to sleep in that bed. And that's hot racking, which no one likes because you don't want to, it's just awful, but it's military. And we call it hot racking, which no one likes. You have to change the sheets or whatever. Sometimes nobody cares. And on smaller submarines, the beds are really small. I'd say this would be the top, and this part would be like the bottom. And you had something you could lift up and put your clothes in. It's very small. My bed was called the coffin. Anyway, okay. And if we talked about Navy shower, sometimes if we have more than too many people, we would construct a torpedo room into a bedroom as well. Okay, hold on. Let me see what we got here. We did angles and dangles. Okay. Oh, let's go back. Wait a minute. Okay, there we go. When you qualify submarines, you're eligible to wear that on your uniform. Did you qualify submarines while you were out there? Yeah, do you guys get dolphins, or do you get dolphins on your chest for doing? Okay. Yeah, well, when you qualify submarines, in America, it takes about 9 months to qualify submarines. When you're 6 on, 12 off, if you're not qualified submarines, guess what? You got to be awake trying to qualify submarines. And the day you qualify submarines, you're so happy because now your 12 hours are really yours. And once you qualify submarines, if you're enlisted, you wear the silver dolphins. If you're an officer, you wear the gold dolphins. And you do have to earn those. You have to almost kind of learn every system of the boat. People have to sign you off, and then usually a lieutenant questions you, and then he signs you off, and then you're finally qualified submarine. And there's a big ceremony out to sea, and they put your dolphins on. And then the hazing begins, because you have your dolphins on, and everybody, when you walk by someone, they hit you in the chest on your dolphins just to say welcome, I guess. I don't know. Welcome to the Submariner force. Sometimes they crack through the back and you start to bleed a little bit, get like 2 little pokes in your thing, and some people are bleeding, but it's part of the hazing. Okay. Okay, another time while we're out, food on a submarine is good, excellent. 120, 155 guys, you could put a pinch of salt in. On a carrier, imagine 5,000 people. No good. Food on a submarine was excellent. First time I ever had crab legs was on a submarine, and they were nice. They were these big giant crab legs, and we had I forgot what day it was. We had big crab legs. We had prime rib, and then I remember being in port, going to a restaurant, going, "Oh my God, I'm going to get crab legs," just like in the Navy. And their crab legs were so small, I was a little disappointed. Like, what? Anyway, just a little side story. Wednesday night was movie night. You know, every Wednesday we had a big movie, like usually a series, and our whole crew was hooked on the Thornbirds. Anybody ever seen the Thornbirds? We were just so hooked on the Thornbirds with some Ralph Brickashire and all that little romance and that little kid getting killed by the pig. We were all kind of sad. And we would watch the Star Wars movies, and, you know, there'd be game nights where there would be poker and bingo, things like that, just to kind of keep the crew alive, you know, keep it a little lively on the boat. We had popcorn machines. You had all the coffee you can drink. Had an ice cream machine. You know, these little things that you could do. The famous book on our boat at the time, amongst the young sailors, there was a book called How to Make Love to a Woman. And first person would read it, and then there was a list, for the book, How to Make Love. And then you'd have to sign your name, and then people use it, and then, oh, it's your turn. Savant, you got the book, and then he would read it. And we'd say things like, okay, we're sailors, right? Men. All right, make sure those pages aren't stuck together. I got the book next. Okay, anything else? Let's see. Oh, and we were really into 80s music. Big time 80s music, people. That's what the dolphins look like up close. It's not like that porpoise. It's the ugly dolphin. I guess, but that's what it looks like. You wear that on your chest, and that kind of means something. People kind of give you a little respect walking around. Oh, you're on submarines? Yeah. It's a pretty big deal because most people wouldn't want to do that. Okay. Anybody know how to sing YMCA? When I look at this picture, now I've been on the boat probably about a year now. That's our chief. Okay, that's petty officer. I can't remember his name now. Oh, but yeah. You see, the Navy is not as strict as the Marines as far as weight and all that kind of stuff. Even though we do have some basic stuff we have to do. That's my friend Clark. Remember I told you about Clark? We both joined the submarine force at the same time, and we both went to Spec Ops. Harvey Clark lives in Texas still. And that's me growing a mustache, trying to be a young, cool guy, And I think this kind of looks like a musical, doesn't it? I mean, it's a funny picture to me. And that's just us taking a picture of the navigation department. And there we are. That's me as a young guy. I think I'm like 21 maybe. Little mustache. YMCA, like I should be part of the Village People or in a musical. But that's me at that age. And let's move on. There's something I wanted to say about that. Okay. Okay, we were new wavers. We loved 80s music. We used to party all the time. So you see, we're out to sea. When you're out to sea, you can kind of wear whatever you kind of want. And so we're in the torpedo room. It's my good friend Savant. That's Sharples. Those are torpedo men, just chilling out. And that's me, just kind of wearing my new wavy glasses. These were my new wavy friends. We'd go out party in San Francisco when we were in port. Go all the new wave music at the time. And yeah, that's just us. That's torpedo room, bunch of knobs I used to understand but don't understand now. But we liked it. And you see, you can wear whatever hat you want underwater. He was from Texas. I think that's some kind of bass hat. Sharples, well, he was a little strange. He was kind of that guy. And then I was like straight-laced, squared away sailor wearing a hat, making sure everything, badges, everything. These guys, he's not even wearing his badge. I'm wearing my badge, shirt's tucked in. What the hell's wrong with me? I was following the rules, I guess. Okay. So that's what it's kind of like to be on a submarine underwater, just chilling out. Coming to periscope depth. Here's something just something for you to know. When a submarine comes to periscope depth, mainly it's at night. And before you come to periscope depth at night, you have to rig the entire submarine for red because we have to get our eyes adjusted to the night. And when the periscope goes up, the entire ship is rigged for black. Because if you put a periscope up and you have the lights on, that light's going to come through the periscope, and that gives away your position, and we don't want to do that. So my job on watch when it's at night and all the scopes are up, my job, I had to put a pin light in my mouth with a red thing, and I'm always something in my mouth with my compass, and I'm doing all this. The boat's rocking a little bit because we're at 60 feet, and it's just a little bit. We're rocking, and I'm getting all the information I need, but it's always a little bit tough, but it's also a little bit fun because it's like, you're doing like 1,000 things at once. And then when you go back down, it's back to sort of chilling out and doing your job. When they send an antenna up that receives messages, but they also send an antenna up to get us navigation information. So when we go to periscope depth, it's not just to look around, it's also to bring the snorkel, bring the air in, bring messages in to families, bring navigational information, orders, everything is coming in during periscope depth. So we always go to periscope depth at least once a night if we're not in enemy waters. And then we sank, and there was nothing. No. Is that a video? Oh, okay. More sailors just chilling out. He actually provided me some of these pictures. Ski, he's also the one who drew the picture. Snowden, he was the ladies' man. You know, everybody has a, one thing about a submarine, 120 people, you know everyone. Okay, that guy's an asshole. Oh, he's cool. That guy's a Klan member. This guy, you know everyone. You know what they're all about. You know what they're going to do. And because you have to depend on them. You know, submarine kind of like that. It's not like the military. Hey, Johnny, and Johnny's head is blown off. When someone dies on a submarine, chances are everyone's dead. So you have to depend on each other. If there's a fire or something like that, we run drills all the time. When you're underwater also, sometimes it cuts into your sleep time. We're running drills all the time. All the time. Fire drills, sinking drills. We're running drills all the time to be prepared for whatever will happen. We're running fire control drills. That means we're lining up ships and pretending to be sinking them. We're doing a lot of stuff all the time just to be prepared all the time. Because if something goes wrong down there, the game's kind of over. Okay. Sorry, it's just taking longer than I wanted. Okay. That's Cherex. These guys are just chilling out. Back then, you could smoke on a submarine. Look at that guy, smoking. A lot of people tried to quit smoking. You know how they try to quit smoking? They said, I'm not taking any cigarettes on the mission. That's how they would try to quit smoking. And then there was another gang of guys who would buy cigarettes and have them on boat and sell them for like exorbitant prices to these guys. Because why would you want to not smoke in a situation where it's going to be stressful? That was always funny to me. I should have got in on that money-making deal. Yeah.
August
Okay.
1979.
Let's go back.
The American spy.
We were spec ops. And that means we did special operations. Yeah, there's times where we just went out to sea and did drills. We call that poking holes in the ocean. Like, what are we doing? Are we going anywhere? No, we're just going out to sea for 2 weeks and running drills. Be like, damn. Okay, and we called it poking holes in the ocean. We're going out poking holes in the ocean. But then we had to start Nine Man's Bluff. And it just talks about the submarine spy game from day one all the way up till like the fall of the Soviet Union. It's actually worth watching.
Yeah, no, I've seen some of it. It's really, really good. It's a History Channel documentary, freely available on YouTube.
Yeah, and if you go to the 1 hour, 1 minute mark, that sort of tells you from the Parchi from 1979 till the end. Some pretty good stuff. Spies, intrigue, that kind of stuff. You want this back?
Well, if I don't take it away, we're never going to get away from here.
Our missions, because that's what we were. This is not my boat. This is the boat that was in front of my boat. And I'll let you watch this video for just a little bit. How do I do that?
August 1979. The American spy sub Parchi passes beneath the Golden Gate Bridge and heads into the Pacific. Only a few of the 140 men on board even know where they're going, but they all know what will happen if they get caught.
They were carrying self-destruct charges. They were told that if they were discovered, they weren't coming home.
Several months later, and 5,000 miles from San Francisco, it's business as usual off the port of Murmansk on the Barents Sea. Fishing trawlers dot the harbor while the ships of Russia's Northern Fleet move in and out of base. They have no idea that just 500 feet below them, divers from the USS Parchi are carrying out the most daring and dangerous undersea espionage operation of the Cold War, tapping the phone cables of the Soviet Navy. It's one in a series of missions.
So during the Cold War, submarines were used to tap Russian lines underwater. That means you had to go in Russian, you had to be in Russian waters. And that means if you get caught, who remembers that Korean jet getting shot down a long time ago? Russians shot down a Korean jet. Well, imagine what they're going to do to a submarine if they find that in their own waters during the height of the Cold War. So the mission for a lot of spy boats were basically spying on Russians. You'd go under the ice and end up on the other side, up in northern Europe, and then you would just sit around and follow their November-class submarine. We've all seen, who's heard of the movie Hunt for the Red October? You guys heard of that movie? Yeah, well, it's the November-class submarine. It does exist. Well, it used to. I don't know if they decommissioned it. But they would send submarines to follow that boat and sort of take readings off of it. But the Russians were doing the same thing, too. We have our Trident fleet in Washington, near Seattle. Straits of Juan de Fuca. And there's always Russian submarines waiting for those submarines to go out. One of our missions one time was just to go out and clear those submarines out. Just to go out there and be a presence. We sent 2 submarines out and clear those submarines out so that the USS Ohio, a Trident platform, could go out and be hidden so it can be a deterrent to nuclear war. The American style deterrent to nuclear war. Just more nuclear weapons. But so there's this cat and mouse game underwater during the entire Cold War. Once we did get called to battle, when we were on one of our missions, we got called to battle stations. Battle stations. And I'm the battle station navigation guy. So I'm up there, I'm ready to go. We're at battle stations. I'm like, oh my God, fuck it. The world's going to be on nuclear fire. Oh, hell, we're part of it. You know, I wasn't happy about it because I was going on leave in a month. And I wanted to, I wanted to be on R&R. I was like, oh, shit, man, what's going on? Then our captain came over the intercom. We are now at war. And then I'm like, oh, shit, we're at war? This is it. We are at war with the country of Grenada. I'm like, who? I'm like, Grenada. So I'm looking at my little book, I said, okay, it's on page, okay, it's over here in this chart. And I'm looking, I'm like, it's a freaking island. You call us a battle stations? And we're like millions of miles away, almost to the under the North Pole. And I'm like, why did we even come here for this island? Anyway, I tell you that story. I was like, battle stations for Grenada? A nuclear submarine? Nah, it's ridiculous. Anyway, so clearing the way for Trident submarines. I've been under the ice. You know why submarines, you know submarines go up and break through the ice. Why do you think they do that? You ever get on a plane to go somewhere? Do you ever notice that the plane goes up first? Say from America to, I don't know, Europe. The plane goes up because the longitudinal lines get closer as you go north, right? They all connect at the North Pole. Then you just go up, and then you can easily turn around and come down. It's quicker flight. Well, submarines want to get up there because if they have to launch missiles, it's a shorter distance to North Korea, Moscow, whoever, if you're under the ice and you break through the ice and shoot rockets, you could pretty much hit any place in the world quickly. That's why they're up there. And there's a cat and mouse game up there too. Fast attack submarines looking for Trident submarines, It's just cat and mouse the whole time. Because if war happens, that fast attack is supposed to sink that nuclear platform. Get Sheldon again. Okay, hold on. Sheldon, I'm doing a speech. You can do yours next. Sorry, guys. I don't know why that's not off. Sorry, hold on. I'm still doing it. Hey, you say hi to all these nice people while you're interrupting us. Hey, Sheldon, go away. They'll be looking for you to give a speech on improv theater. I'll call you after it's done. Bye. The Navy taught me to be prepared for everything. Anyway. Okay. So, we're on one of our missions. I'm not going to say which mission we were on, but there are 3 boats. There's the Parchie, there's the Pogie, and there's the Seawolf. The Seawolf is called the pier puppy because the Seawolf, every time they go on a mission, they always come back broke, and they always stand by the pier. So we stopped calling them the Seawolf and started calling them the pier puppy because they never go anywhere. Anyway, so we were taking their missions. Our captain was gleefully doing it. Okay, let's see the next thing here. We're almost done, guys. I'm sorry if I'm dragging this out a little bit. Now, you're asking, well, Sherman, were you on that mission? Did you do things like that? Well, this next video is going to answer it.
August
Oh,
1979.
maybe it's not.
No secret that to this day, Navy officials refuse to acknowledge its existence.
I can not confirm or deny any specific activity, but suffice it to say that intelligence was obtained that gave us a very, very accurate, clear, and unambiguous continuing insight into their military planning.
Okay. I cannot confirm or deny that I was there, but that's what a lot of nuclear submarines were doing. Spy boats were doing, special ops boats were doing in the, all the way up and probably to the fall of the Soviet Union. Okay, so we're out on our mission. We do our mission. We did a mission for 68 days. We stay in port for 1 month. I go back out for 72 days. We're out there. We're doing it. We're doing our job, whatever that job is. We always had speakers who spoke Russian on our boat. We always had some SEAL team people on our boat. And there's a thing on our boat, there's a thing in the military called the need to know. You saw that most of the crew members didn't know where we were. They had no clue. They just do their job, 6 on, 12 on. They don't know whether we're in Florida next to the Bahamas or tied up in port in Japan somewhere. They have no idea because they don't have the need to know. Over where I used to work, near the charts, I knew exactly where we were. Only certain people could come over in that area. You had to have a certain clearance. Everyone in the boat had a secret clearance, but then you move up to top secret. And I had a top secret clearance because I knew where we were. So that's kind of how it is out there. And you just, is there any questions about Spec Ops at all? I'm sorry, I'm just rambling here. Yeah, what is it? I will answer it, well, depending on what it is. But that what was going on when I was in the subservice and I was in special ops. We were doing all kinds of stuff during the Cold War that involved cable tapping, following Russian submarines, clearing out submarines so that our boats could go out. That's pretty much what we were doing. And our captain was very zealous. Oh, go ahead. Oh, you want to wait till after? Okay, sorry about that. Thank God the war with Grenada ended quickly. I was really relieved. Didn't want to have to get involved as a nuclear submarine taking down that island. Let's go. Yes, horse and cow. Let's talk about, okay, we come in after a hardcore mission. Well, there's always a Submariner bar and a Submariner in town. And this is called the horse and cow. And that's usually what it's called, the horse and cow. This one is probably in Vallejo, if I remember right. Yeah, it's Vallejo. And after you just go there, and when you want to be with your sub buddies, you just go to the horse and cow and drink, play pool, talk submarine talk. Because nobody else is going to understand. Right? You're like, yeah, man, you remember we were this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we do it right there at the horse and cow. And it's probably still in Vallejo. I haven't been there, but it has a big submarine on the top. We'd meet there probably once or twice a month. Some people would go every day, you know. But I had a girlfriend in San Francisco. Some funny things about submarines. I'm going to end this real quick. Oh, that's our captain. You remember they talked about the Parchi? He was the XO of the Parchi. And through his experience on the Parchi, he became our captain. Now, I didn't really like this guy, but he saved our life at least twice. One time we were being pinged on in the wrong place at the wrong time. He came out of the stateroom in his underwear. The Lieutenant JG was frozen. You heard this ping, like in the movies, ping. Our captain came out and moved him out like right fucking full rudder, all head flank, get us the fuck out of here, 180 degrees now. And we got out of there because we were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that Lieutenant JG was who had to watch that night just sort of froze. Another time he saved our lives is we were cruising in excess of 20 knots and the planes, they locked. And so we started sinking. We were going like, I'm like, whoa, my God, Jesus. You know, what the hell? I don't want to die in a submarine. He comes running out of his stateroom again and starts barking orders, gets on the thing, tells the people back aft what to do to those planes, and like within minutes, he got us coming back up. So I have a lot of respect. I didn't like him too much, but I have a lot of respect for Archie of the Parchie, and that was his nickname. Because when he came on our boat as our captain, he'd go, we don't do it like that on Parchie. Well, on Parchie, we do it like this. So he became Archie of the Parchie. He died just last year. Good man. When you get out of the Navy, you're happy to see this form. This is your DD-214. I got out honorable. Thank goodness. You know, it says all the little schools I went to, navigation, all that stuff. Period ending, blah, 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 blah. I got a Navy Expeditionary, a Battle E ribbon, you know, a letter of commendation from Cub Sub Pack Group 1, all this stuff. Just gives you kind of your out processing, U.S. Pogey. And with this paper now, you know, I get medical care, I get veterans benefits, low housing loans, free trip to Patio once a year. No, it's not. I don't get that. But yeah, that's the paper you want to see when you get out of the Navy. Why did I get out of the Navy? I always did want to go to college, and I just wanted to go to college. I just wanted to go to university. And I was lucky that this boat was stationed in San Francisco because, like I said, I lived in Texas. Texas was very conservative. And then when I moved to the Bay Area, I was like, wow, look at all these different people, so much fun. Wow, hey, it's so cool. Nobody has a gun. I don't see any cowboy hats, right? This was great. It was very nice to live in the city. And I call it my home to this day. I went to college there, went to City College of San Francisco first. By the same college that O.J. Simpson went to. I don't know if that gets me points or not in this audience. No, I'm joking. And then I transferred to UC Berkeley, where I became a free-loving hippie, and I'm not a for war anymore. And what the Navy did, I'll have to admit, nobody told me to join the Navy. So I did something on my own and finished it on my own and did quite well without anybody telling me I had to do it. You know, and that little bit of confidence. Also, I found out I'm a leader. I was leading all the people below me, making sure that they were safe, making sure they were getting qualified, making sure they were taken care of, making sure they felt comfortable doing their job. And I do that to this day. When I was a manager, I was working overseas in Kuwait, and I was working with some Iraqis, believe it or not. And they were like so shy and whatever. I drew up a qual card, and I walked them through my qual card so that they could be comfortable in their job. I learned that in the Navy. And this kid, he thanks me to this day. He says, you know, Sherman, I was so shy, my English was bad, but when we went through that qual card and you put me in charge and I could do the job and I felt comfortable, he said it really made me feel confident. He didn't realize that I actually trained him how to do my job so I could kick back and relax, but I trained him and it helped him out. It helped him, it helped me. Him and I are still friends today. Really good friends. And what else? It gave me the confidence to go to college. You know, I'm like, wow, I'm going to college. Nobody's telling me I have to go to college. I'm deciding on my own to go to college. And I had already started something big and finished something big. So I figured I could do it. And I graduated. Also, the big thing gave me an opportunity to live in the Bay Area, which I call my home now. Okay, let's see what else I got there. United States, I'm a United States submarine vet. Proud of that. Okay, remember, people. We're veterans, we're sailors, okay? We're not sex toys. That's one thing you need to remember about sailors. If you don't remember anything that I say today, please heed that. He's a sailor. He's not a sex toy. And that goes for veterans and Army veterans and all the other people. These men are not sex toys, even though they serve their country. This is from the Fleet Week in Portland. Portland has a Fleet Week. We've been to that Fleet Week, and the girls are a little bit, more, I don't know what it is. We show up in our uniform, and they just kind of are amorous. But, yeah, He's a sailor, not a sex toy. Remember that. And there are two types of ships in the Navy. I want you to remember this. There are only two types of naval vessels. There are submarines and there are targets. Okay? Those are the only type of ships that are in the Navy as far as I'm concerned. Okay? I think that's the last one. Wait. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Is there any, movies I suggest you watch? There's a thing on YouTube that talks about the documentary about what real life is on a submarine. If you want to watch a movie because you want to be excited and have popcorn, Das Boot. Anybody remember the movie Das Boot? That's a really good movie. When I was in the Navy, we were watching that. Like, yeah, we were so pumped, right? And then Crimson Tide. And here's a fun fact. The USS Pogey is in the book Hunt for the Red October with the USS Dallas. But in the movie, we're not in the film. And I think because maybe the film came out when we were still doing classified things, you just don't want the name even out there. But it's in the book, but not in the movie. Crimson Tide, good movie. Very good movie. I went to see Crimson Tide, and I was watching the film, and it felt like I was back in the submarine world a little bit. Because I went to go use the bathroom, and I opened the door, and I'm like, man, I felt like I was really in it. And that's when I kind of knew those orders were kind of real. And another one, Hunt for the Red October. It's all propaganda, but it's still interesting. All right. Thank you. I hope I didn't bore you. If you want to join the submarine service, there are some recruiters outside waiting for you. Okay? So hopefully, if you ever get a chance to go on a submarine, sometimes countries allow people to go on and go up and down and all around. Take that opportunity. Any questions?
Just before we go to questions, right? I think I only asked you to give the talk about less than a week ago, right? You agreed to give the talk maybe 6 days ago.
Well, I was drinking coffee, and then next thing you know, this shadow came over me, and I was cornered. I couldn't get out. I'm like, okay, what do you need, Rand?
Firstly, he said, I don't think I've got that much to talk about. I think it's only going to last half an hour. But what an extraordinary talk. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you. I hope you liked it.
I think it's up there with the longest talks we've ever had in the club, but fascinating, right? Fascinating talk. So questions and answers. Well done, mate. Fantastic.
Really? Was it okay for you guys? I didn't want to bore you. I know it's morning.
From the military. How good was it, Big Ron? Did you enjoy that talk? He does.
I'd like to just say thank you. He's a Marine. It's sort of a lower form of naval life. Just, I mean, he's a Marine. He's a grunt, We take them places because we know they can't get there on their own. They probably don't know how to get there. Anyway, question. Yes, sir.
I was in the Marine Corps also.
Oh, no.
I have a comment on the name of your boat. We use that word in the Marine Corps, pogey.
Oh, really?
Pogey bait means candy, things are sweet, stuff like that. And if you call somebody a pogue, he's a bit of a poofter.
Oh, okay. Well, there is a joke. In that Marines, people, once they finally crawl out of that cave they live in, they like to say, no, I'm joking. They like to go, oh, you're on a submarine. I hear 120 men go down, 60 couples come back up. So there may be maybe that's where it came from. Thank you for your service. The Marines, man, they're the real deal. If I had to be guarded and somebody to fight with, it's with the Marines, not so much the Army. Yes, sir.
I have a question. I was sailing a long time, but in the Merchant Marine, so I stay on the surface. Then in a submarine, how you can get your position before there were GPSs?
How did we get our position before there were GPSs, like in World War II and things like this?
Yes, where you were. You know exactly where you were.
Well, let me go back in time. Oh, you mean for me, when we're underwater?
No, the ship. Who navigate the ship?
Okay,
On a Martian ship,
On a
you
nuclear
take it on the stars, or
Right.
you make a sounding on somewhere.
Yeah.
But on a submarine, you cannot see outside.
Before we put navigation satellites up in the air, we were using the stars. You'd come up, because the boats back then, right, were coming up. World War II boats, they had to come up every night, recharge the batteries, whatever, and then the navigator would be using the stars to figure out where they are.
Yeah, but then you should know about, without the satellites, where you are is about dead. But you want to calculate it exactly.
Well, we used to do that. We did that in navigation school. But once we got out to the boats, it's kind of like we just started using all the electronic stuff. And we also, if we're close to land, we used navigational aids on the land. And also, we have charts. So if we're near something, like a buoy, I can look at a buoy.
Yeah, you can take a sounding, yes.
Yeah, and I can take a sounding. That's right. Yeah. But also, we can use, I'll see a buoy, and that light's flashing every 5 seconds. And I'll look on my chart, and it says that buoy right there is flashing every 5 seconds. So then I'd get a line there. Then I would take a sounding, and say on my chart it says 100 fathoms. It comes up 99, 100 fathoms.
Yeah, but
say, okay.
in the middle of the ocean, there is no...
No, not in the middle ocean. We use soundings. We use
that time in the old days, about where you are.
Yes,
Okay.
and pretty much that's why we come to periscope depth every night. We come up to periscope depth to get the information from the satellite. Because say we get the information, I fix the boat's position, and then for 24 hours, me and the other people in the navigation department, we are meticulously making sure we kind of know where we are.
Yeah, because I know since the time there are GPSs, the modern navigation officers, they even cannot calculate the position.
And well, we do it the best we can using the sound. We take a sounding every half an hour, depending on what our courses are, and then we come up every 24 hours to verify that position.
Okay.
Sometimes we're on, sometimes we're off, but we're not off by a lot.
Okay.
We can't be off by a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Fascinating. I was on submarines 6 months. I was glad to get off. But our boats compared to yours, we call them pig boats for one reason.
Peak?
Pig.
Okay.
P-I-G.
Okay.
Because we never had a chance to have a shower. We were lucky if we got a bowl of water, and that was it. And we were hot bunking all the time, 4 on, 4 off. You were in luxury. You sound as though a hotel when I was listening to you. No bread, ice cream and Coke, and it's a joke. And we were glad to get off them at certain times because operational meant that we were under water for 10 days, popping up all the time to get oxygen because pig boats were like that. You make your own oxygen. We need to supplement it every night. And
was yours a nuclear submarine? No.
I was on British submarines.
Yeah, but it was not nuclear.
No.
It was diesel.
I joined the Navy in 1956, all right, before you were born, and I promptly finished up in Suez during the Suez crisis. I was on submarines then. I was shoved onto submarines, volunteered. Well, not volunteered. I was on a surface ship called a depot ship, with 4 submarines alongside. And I was sitting there thinking on the weekend where I was going, and the chief come down and he said, P.O. was a petty officer then. He said, get your kit bag and get down on that pig boat. I said, what? I said, I know nothing about submarines. He said, well, you get down there and do and learn about it. That was my introduction. And the reason being, the guy who was not going down there had got the Hong Kong flu. Right, so I had to replace him, and I had no choice. But I tell you what, it's a different world altogether to what you're talking about,
Well, yeah, I mean, our submarine was made in 1964, I think it was. But in relationship to the newer submarines, ours is a pig boat, right? Because we get showers, but you know, we only have one workout thing. Like in a big ballistic or the U.S. Ohio class, they have a weight room. They have treadmills. They have watch the Crimson Tide. You'll see that's an Ohio class submarine. That's what that boat. But ours, we had this little bitty room where we had this treadmill, and that was our only cardio, and we'd have a line for it, and that was pretty much it. Or you had your own little weights, you know. But
another world. But,
yeah. Yours was more.
Yeah,
yours was more rustic.
Paul Boy's class was a diesel generator, all right, and the noise was tremendous. I noticed when you showed part of your clip, there was a lot of background noise, right? You want to go on a pig boat, diesel generator, and you weren't given any defenders then. Yeah. But it was a good life. I enjoyed it, but I was glad to get off.
Thanks for sharing that. Thank you. It reminded me of the old Monty Python when you were saying that. It was like, luxury.
Well, compared to you, it was like.
Enjoyed your talk, Sherman.
Thank you.
I was in the Marine Corps, but
sometimes
I felt like I was in the Navy because I've been across the Pacific 5 times on a ship, across the Atlantic once, and down in the Caribbean once. And I was in amphibious tractors, so.
Okay. Well, thank you. You see, when a Navy guy shows up, the Marine guys, you know, they just want to be there. They want to be part of it. No, we want to be like them. Those guys. They're the warriors. Thank you, and thank you for your service. And my friend was the same. He was on the USS Duluth. He got to travel. He had traveled more places than I did. I was on a submarine. We did spec ops. I hardly went anywhere. I went up to Canada, Mexico, Hawaii. I wanted to see the world, but I couldn't. Last thing is, when I had a chance to go on a Westpac, I chose not to go because I had a job at Subpac Pearl Harbor. And the only reason I took that job is because it was a 9-to-5 job, and I had weekends off, no duty. Yeah, that was beautiful.
Well, a big huge round of applause for Sheldon's record-breaking talk.
Sherman.
Sorry, Sheldon. Come on, Sherman. Sorry, mate. Sorry. Well, we've got a little thank you for your amazing talk. It was amazing. I wish I could give one of these to everybody who served their country. So, but on behalf of them all, take this.
One last thing. What you saw those video clips are the spot. There is a documentary on YouTube